Adolf Benza, fanatic Superman. In the description of Gulag Bratislava and organized crime, Semitismus, semantics, Tsigan double dialectic, when I'm Orthodox, Jewish historically and Christian in reference, it's irrelevant to my consciousness because I'm an atheist. And the whole point was that my genealogical predisposition was to create the consciousness of universal man in modern world as a painter, which I did for 50 years. Since Slavin, with Alexander Vika, first place in Czechoslovakia, the monument of Stalin's revolutionary Stalin monument, I went there to continue defenestration, and I did with missiles and the statues, etc., from Kazakhstan to Kurdistan to Vladivostok to Novgorod, on and on. Basically, Eastern Bloc from Tchaikovsky and Richardus. Context, my Star Wars exhibition, Washington, Platt, Charlie Platt, and my interactions with Michelle Alexandria and Chinese embassy, and 53 embassies and ambassadoria of Eastern Bloc that went to my exhibition. Musil and Richardus invited me to do this expose because I had the exhibition at Seton Hall University, and then in Lindenfeld Gallery in Florida, reviewed in Florida newspaper, the Coconut Grove Review. My theory is that, again, everything is determined by Abelovsky and Getsy's organized crime post-communist bloc, and that the defenestration was really Adolf Benza and his work and his family. I was a runner. I used to run 30 miles a day for 15 years, 7 times a week. And now, after my 7,500 injuries, 600 graves that I dug, I put myself back on my feet so I can, after 2 operations on hips for $650,000 and my heart surgery, now I could work out and for 4 hours, and I do that. Not that I am another Arnold Schwarzenegger, which I certainly will be more than that, because I'm Napoleon Adolf Benza Saturn, American Metamorphosis, Russo, Eastern Bloc, neutrality painter, Galeria Noya, and I want to go back to the context of reference to the injuries, was that the semantics was, the words of dialectics were semantically manipulated by the organized crime to the point where they were not Jacobin theater, they were not absurd and dialectical formations of all Oxford enlarged dictionaries in English, in most languages, but were prototypically trained by my friend who referred me to my Fulbright, Peter Kusi, Americans who were trained to speak Russian. I was native in Slavic and Russian languages, so I understood it genetically. My union to Dostoevsky's and his life work, when Florence finished with The Possessed, it was a metaphor of literary work for RSPQ, our Senatus Populusquum Romanum, which is Congress, Parliament, and Congresses in the world, which was my 1987 Bologna World Address, Bologna University, Fulbright, postdoctoral, Dr.Hc, Columbia, Bologna, in reference to Zdeněk Brzezinski and the Alliance, Pomodoro, Luigi Cipriana Celba, Salvin Raab, and then of course Cardinal Casaroli and the reviews with Tanzioni, and then the Voice of America and Radio Free Europe, 2,000 interviews, 1,000 each, roughly within a 10-year period. The exhibitions were in television and in newspapers. They were completely official. Before then, the American bloc was done from 1968 to 1969. Expose was to approximately 1985 when it stopped. St. Gaudens expose in New Hampshire, Sally Newbold, the Caroline Review, Adolf Benta, St. Gaudens, the sculptor for the Washington Monument of Civil War, and ex-Cooperinian alumni. The position on Karol Getzy is the same thing. For a year I called him after my operation injuries and agreed to contract was to revitalize, but the semantics are that all words are turned around inside out to be theatrical, bunraku, kabuki, and no theater. So dialectics have lost their complete consciousness. So my collective consciousness as a painter is determined by my collective life. This unconscious and conscious evil of this organized crime can now be understood in its maximal proportion and its paradox is Eudix's transformation, that it is in retribution that the communist regime was identified as fascist quadratis corpus identity. They identified it personally as the imperialist and Zionist theater. I don't really care about, again, semantics, but it is dualistic fascism, and in that sense it played right into my hand and my tragedy. The semantics of the theater are determined by a duality that is administered by third party. In other words, any administrator in the organized mafia is always working with Larry, Moe, and Curry, triology of syllogistic Aristotelian ethics, and the plasma miasma comes into a personal chamber of double standard and double standard attack. This is unacceptable, and the thing is that the extortion and the physical destruction and the incriminality of corruption that it brings out as a scattered ideology creates its removal objectively and subjectively by putting this man into life imprisonment, Karol Getzy, and with the guy that's already in life imprisonment, Slezak, who's a double of the cultural attaché in Stupava, and they formed themselves as double in the same name. In fact, they had my name used as reference to terrorize me, because there's another one like me, and used my name in preparation as the videos were being shown to me, to be executed on the terms of other people's lives and forced into labor. And labor as it was from 7 o'clock, 7:30 in the morning, I was painting and supervised by 25 people. Huge murals, never saw them. I said that they were coming out 15 a day, one large every 7 days. And the transformation of this work and the injuries brought the contradiction, as I call it, contradictum adjecto, into a final blow. So the works were very, very indeed felt and cathartic. The brushes were absurd. They were constructed with feathers and garbage. They were the most inept brushes, the most inept paints and materials forced at the maximum volume production. The semanticism of Getzy's is that the theater is a Jacobin, but has formed a new format of sensibilization as the abstractio reductio, contradictio, and duality. The terror is that, of course, I would be insane to think that the pursuit of first category imperative would be attained to me. Of course, nothing will ever happen. It's fraud. The second duality is that, yes, they executed me physically and wrapped me in the carpets. The 25 to 9 men in black hoods were NKVD, and assistants from the Albanian, Ukrainian, Russian cooperative that were going into Vienna, doing body cartel, drug cartel, and arms cartel, Chechens, and of course Cigano and etc., assigned the ex-communist bloc turned into fascist conglomeration org. So I fell right into the hands as a painter, saying that hypothetically there was painting the revolution. I was not, because I'm a satirist. I'm Enzo Goya. I see objectification in the quadrilateral division of fascism, and I see neutrality not as universal fascism, but as a cultural revolution of Mao Zedong and Nelson Mandela, Gandhi, and of course myself as a painter. This goes back to the Gordon knot. I'm tied by Apelles and Alexander cut the Gordon knot by myself in this category after I've come on my feet again and be able to exercise and to form myself into a new generation, a new immortal of collective consciousness, human beings. This has Fulbright Committee has endowed me this privilege, has honored me, given me the honorary doctorates, and the historical transformation of this character as a metamorphosis is connected in dualistic synthesis, catharsis between modernistic and classic tradition into a collective new objective a priori, and posterior paradoxus is now maintained for philosophy, economics, and military, economic, fascist, secret corps organizations. But in culture to Petrograd, Uffizi, Louvre, Smithsonian, Prado, Uffizi as my center for SPQR, the Brito-Claudian, Constantine, new modern painter of modern time, transforms Galleria Neua, the Titania of Titian, the Ponterio Ars, modern Galleria Neua. I wanted to Humernik and Husak as attorneys and advocates in this pursuit of lawsuits for injuries to my family, and the rescue that indeed I am a character and a serious character, and I do not shake these challenges, as I do not shake semantics and abstract duality, because I've studied it, because it was the evil within the sensibility that made me pure.